So good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for coming out today. My name is Judy MacKenzie. I'm the Director of Radio, Television, and Film Services for Rowan College of South Jersey. Basically, from the first moment I saw the Souls Shot Portrait Project exhibition in 2019, I kind of joined on as a volunteer. I was kind of the pest that wouldn't go away, and here we are. So I want to thank you all for coming out today. I want to thank my Rowan College of South Jersey family for really embracing this project. Our involvement just increases every time we do it, and you'll learn a bit more about that as we go today. But I am very grateful for the support of my college family, and that really starts right at the top with our president, Dr. Frederick Keating.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Rowan College of South Jersey. Judy mentions the history of our involvement with this project, and this was something that was brought to my attention a few years ago, and we could not have done anything with this project if it wasn't for Judy MacKenzie, to be perfectly honest. Very much an advocate for the concept of remembering those who are the victims of gun violence in this country. And where do we as a college fit into this conversation is the most difficult part. But I believe as the president of this college and the people that we have now that are increasingly joining this conversation, who are working at this college in behavioral health, in social work, in education, and in correction, reentry, and other considerations, that we play an integral part in the conversation, in my opinion, and it's just one small opinion, to try to bring together those forces, and we could be the nucleus of that, to focus attention on what's going on in our society. And in my humble opinion, this is the number one problem of the United States of America. It is not foreign, it is domestic. So with that in mind, it's what are we going to do about it, as some of us had a sidebar conversation. So what we're going to do is our part as a college to step into this arena and help to be the voice of those families and those individuals that have lost a loved one to this violence, and recognize that their spirit will be carried on, their memory will be memorialized, and the work that you do as families, and some of us have talked over the years, can be redirected and directed toward helping another human being, because in the end, that's all we really have, is to help another human being to understand what causes this violence and what we can do in the educational arena. That's the only one I can speak for that can help to stop it or at least redirect this energy. It's a massive undertaking. It's going to require a lot of people helping a lot of people. And right now, the situation in our society doesn't really give it a prognosis that is all that healthy. But that doesn't mean we don't try and we don't keep going. So as this college is offering itself with all good intention to become and stay the nucleus of this consideration of the Soul Shot Project, to again provide opportunity for the thousands of people that come through this campus, primarily the student body. And in my thought on this is the young people of the student body who come through this campus as high school, middle school, and certainly college students, can have a moment to just pause and reflect of what this violence does to a human, what it does to another family member, and try to pause and understand how we can not only prevent it, but help each other as we go through it, and hope that this ends. So with that in mind, I can only pledge to you the college. So welcome to it. We are proud to be a partner in this conversation. We are loud and we are clear that as the educators of the young in Cumberland and the region, we will continue to put the message forward that this is not the way we are going to live, and we'll find a better way. And understand that we'll prepare young people to train and work so they'll have better options, hopefully, in life that will steer them away from this consideration of what has happened. So with that in mind, I can only say again, welcome. We're a proud partner, and we will continue to do and serve in any capacity these groups that come together under our flag want us to do. We will do everything we can. Thank you, and welcome.
Love this, because we're not all as tall as Dr. Keating. So it is now my pleasure to invite Laura Madeleine, who is an accomplished artist and who is the creator of the Soul Shot Portrait Project exhibition.
Thank you so much. And we are very grateful to be here in this beautiful space. And again, this would not have happened without the literally tireless efforts of Judy MacKenzie and Jackie Sandro. So thank you both so much. Jackie is also one of our artists in this exhibition. And I want to acknowledge another one of our wonderful artists, Rebecca Thornburgh, sitting right there with the pink hair. I really can't say enough about Rebecca. She started this project with me, and it is because of her that we have the incredibly beautiful catalogs, which if you are a participant, you should have received one. We have them for sale. They're full-color catalogs of images and commentary. And Rebecca, I just can't thank you enough. I wouldn't be here, the project wouldn't be here without her. And so here's a little more background about Soul's Shot Portrait Project. Most Americans know about the issue of gun violence in our communities. Statistics can help us understand the extent of the problem, but numbers do a poor job of illustrating the actual toll of gun violence. Numbers cannot show the lost potential, the broken families, the broken hearts that senseless gun violence creates. The role of Soul's Shot Portrait Project is to bring faces and voices to those numbers and to honor a small handful of the thousands that we have lost. Soul's Shot Portrait Project pairs fine artists with people who have lost loved ones to gun violence. The artist meets with the family and friends to learn about the life that person lived and the impact of their loss through photos, memorabilia, and the all-important stories. The resulting portraits are as unique as the souls were in life, and they are presented in exhibitions such as this one that travel to various host venues for an entire year. Our exhibitions are hosted by art galleries, universities, houses of worship, libraries, art centers, museums, medical centers, and government buildings. The project began in 2016 as an idea for a 1-month-long exhibition in support of gun violence awareness. 7 years later, we have worked with well over 200 paired participants, still a very small fraction of those affected by this epidemic violence. Participation is free, as are the exhibitions, and we hope you will visit our website, soulsshotportraitproject.org, where you can learn how to take action, find grief support, apply to participate or host or volunteer, purchase our full-color catalogs of images and commentary, or make a donation. We like the donations. Through this powerful artwork, we aim to bring some solace to those who grieve and move viewers to take action. Art blazes a specific trail to hearts and minds. By focusing on the lives lived, our portraits form deep connections with viewers, a profound intimacy. They take us to a place of empathy where true change can take place. Thank you again for being here today and for listening. And to end, here's a quote from a visitor to one of our exhibitions. As they walked in and saw the portraits, they were heard to say, "It's like you're speeding down the highway, every day hearing and reading about all the gun violence. It's too fast to really take in. This exhibition makes you slow down and notice." We hope to continue to slow people down, connect them with these souls, and move them to take action and work towards peace. Speaking for the artists, myself being one, I can say that we were called to use our talents in hopes of making a difference. And I charge each one of you here, as you connect with the images, presented in this exhibition to commit to taking action in the way that you personally can to work towards enforcing gun safety and violence reduction. Thank you very much.
So back in 2019, I saw the fourth version of the exhibition when it was on display at the Willingboro Library. And my goal then was to bring it to the gallery. We have a beautiful gallery at our Gloucester campus in Sewell, and that's when I first reached out to Laura. And then she told me that it's a rotating process of bringing in new artists and more families. And so I reached out to one of our artists and our instructor, assistant professor Eoin Kinnarney, who is here with us today, and he signed up to create a portrait. And then, 2020 came. Things changed. Suddenly, we were all remote. We were all in a different situation. And I volunteer. You see some of my posse here from Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America. We believe in people's right to bear arms. A number of our members are gun owners, but we do think you should have a background check and store your firearms safely. Through one of my friends in that organization, she did a post one day about her friend, Carla Reyes Miller, and said she was doing something to honor Carla in memory of Carla's son, Kevin, who was taken by gun violence. And I noticed that Carla was wearing some RCSJ regalia and said, well, how do you know her? And how do I not know her? We've got to meet. And so we got connected and have been pretty much attached to the hip ever since. I encouraged Carla, who was working full-time and attending RCSJ at night, to earn a degree in social work, which, congratulations, she did last May. Carla also signed up for the project, and I think whether it was a happy accident of timing, divine intervention, or Laura just thinking it would work, but because I know they're generally paired randomly, I don't question these things because there are many things with this project that just kind of fall into place. Our instructor was paired with our student, and he created the beautiful portrait you see here of Carla's son, Kevin Wayne Miller. So I'd like to ask Carla to join us.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. First, I want to say thank you for coming. I know it's a dreary day, but the Lord has given us another day, and we need to be thankful for that. I am honored to be here again. First and utmost, a student, a graduate from Rowan College, South Jersey, in Gloucester campus. Woo-woo. Yes. And to be honest with you, I probably would not have done it if it wasn't because of the experience that I had to endure, the pain of losing my son, Kevin, at the age of 19. You see, Soul Shot Portrait Project has brought me back Kevin, not only to be memorialized, but it keeps his memory alive. And I want to make a difference. I am thankful for the opportunity given to have met Professor Eoin Kinnarney and how he captured Kevin's life just by conversation, just by text, and his love of art. And my not taking his class and taking music instead, but it was definitely destiny for us to meet, and how he created this portrait in honor of my son and captured everything about him. So Kevin still lives, and in his honor, I am his voice. I am his hands and his feet, and I will continue to speak on his behalf. Today, a friend walked in through this door. She also lost a child. And this is why it's so important for us to be here for one another, to be our loved ones' voice, to know that it was an evil act that took their lives. But something good has come out of this, and it's through art. And what we can do about keeping our loved ones' memory alive, being their voice, going back, getting an education, standing for what you believe in. Senseless lives are being taken daily. And there has to be a stop. And only we can be that voice to go against gun violence. And again, like Judy mentioned, it's okay to have a weapon as long as you're licensed, as long as there's a background check. I experienced that, knowing that the person that took my child's life didn't have a background check. And he senselessly made a decision to take Kevin's life. So today I stand here, a student that graduated from Rowan, but a mother who knows the pain of another mother, a wife, a brother, due to gun violence. We are their voices. We are the ones that can make a difference in our community, in our nation, and to be here for one another. So thank you, Laura, for what you do and what you bring to our families. You've allowed the opportunity to keep our children's and our loved ones' memory alive through art. And I thank you for that. I thank you, President Keating, for encouraging me to continue in my education. Judy, which is my right hip now, my best friend, her heart is for the community. She may not have experienced the loss, but she knows what's needed, and I thank her for that. And Professor Eoin, I can't thank you enough. You have really captured everything about Kevin. So this exhibition is just another step of saying, my child, someone will see his or her story. And I thank you, Laura, and I thank you for bringing this to our community and our state of New Jersey and our county. So continue to keep your head up and know that as much as it hurts, there's a blessing that's coming behind it. And the blessing is to keep their memory alive. No one can take that from you. No one. Thank you.
So as I had said, I initially thought that I was bringing this exhibition to Rowan College of South Jersey, but much to my surprise, I received a catalog right before the opening with the amazing portrait of Kevin Miller on the front, and a portrait, another very stunning portrait of another friend of mine with an artist that I had recruited to the project, and the words, New Jersey Chapter, Volume 1. And so that was when Laura initiated a new exhibition just for New Jersey. Again, somehow how these things just line up. So when this all happened, we were still off campus. We eventually returned to campus, and one of the first events we had, a friend had told me about a great gun violence summit, and it was called Merging Science and Safety, Addressing Gun Violence as a Public Health Issue. And so I thought I'll join the Zoom. One of the sessions in particular was of interest to me, and that's where I first saw Melissa Fox, the Chief Operating Officer of Acenda Health, moderating this fantastic symposium. And then much to my surprise, as they were going to break, they said something about thanking their host, Rowan College of South Jersey, which really confused me because I didn't recognize where they were, but I knew someone who was in the room and said, "Where are they?" Because Acenda always does everything in such a first-class way. They basically made themselves a set and put up a curtain, and I didn't recognize that they were in our business center. So when they went on break, I ran 4 buildings over. Because as I mentioned, I'm a video producer, and you can't be shy when you're a video producer. You have to just get it done. And so I introduced myself to everyone in the room and then became a pain in the neck to our friends at Acenda Health. Now, who knew that later, here we are right here in this building, where just a few weeks ago, if you look to the back, you see the Acenda logo, because Acenda is now one of our premier partners. And here we are in the perfect building, behavioral science and criminal justice, with our Acenda premier partner. And so with that, I would like to bring up Melissa Fox.
Thank you so much, Judy. And, I just have to say, you are such an amazing person with such a wonderful energy and commitment and passion that when we talked that first time, I knew that we were going to be linked somehow going forward. So thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Keating, for hosting this amazing exhibit. Thank you to the artists for the work that you've done to bring these beautiful people back to life for us and to memorialize them. But most importantly, I want to thank the families and the loved ones. I told myself I wasn't going to. You've shared something of yourself through this. You shared with us the love, the connection, their lives, their smiles, and you did that unselfishly. You did that because you wanted to not only share who they were, but to make a statement that others didn't have to end or don't have to end the way that they did, and that there was a purpose for them, and that we are blessed to have had them with us for as long as we did, because God knows best, right? It doesn't feel like it sometimes, and it feels like something was stolen from us, right? But I thank you for your bravery, for your courage, and for your selflessness in helping to bring this here to us today. There are moments in your career and in my career where, I've been reminded of why I do what I do. And they're rare, because you're moving so much, there's always a lot going on. And I walked in here today not knowing that today was going to be one of those moments. This is an area that is important to me, and those of you who work with me and know that this is something that is a passion and a mission for me. But I didn't know that today was going to be one of those moments that I was reminded of why this is so important, why it's so important for us to make sure that there are systems that work, why it's so important for us to make sure that there are resources for people who need it and deserve it, why it's so important to break down barriers that exist unnecessarily, systemic barriers that are preventing us from getting and the people who we love from getting what they need. This has reminded me of that. Not that I forgot, I didn't forget. But it's relit the fire. It's relit the fire that I'm going to carry on and infuse even more passionately and powerfully into what we do. This is a moment. I truly believe that this is a moment that we're in. It feels like everything around us is getting more violent. Everything around us is getting more hurtful. Everything around us has more pain. But I tell you this, that even in that, there is a light that's emerging. There is a light that's coming forth, and you all helped to share that today. There is a power that is going to come of this, that all of us united and aligned will be able to strike a blow to this pain that continues to hurt us in our communities. I love and cherish the relationships that I formed. John Fuqua, who you'll hear from in a little bit, Dave Moore from Inspira, Judy, being aligned with these folks who are as committed, and not even more so than I am, to making sure that this does not continue to happen. This is a moment we're in, and I'm in it with you. So I know that here at Acenda, we are committed to making sure that we do whatever we can and whatever is within our power to fix these broken systems and to heal our families wherever we can. Do we have all the answers all the time? No, but we know who to go to and we know who to partner with. And so I just want to thank you again. I won't take up too much of your time, but I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart, and that Acenda is here to stand with and for you whenever you need as we move forward. Thank you.
So as I mentioned, I'm a video producer. And so one of the skills you need to have as a video producer is to recognize people's talents and assemble a crew. You meet with a client, you find out what it is they want to communicate, you work with them to best communicate it, and then you put together a crew. And that's a skill you kind of take with you in life. You just recognize what people are good at and how they fit into your puzzle. So back at that first meeting in 2019, that was also where I first met my now friends from the crisis response canines. You may have noticed we have an assortment of dogs in the back with their wonderful partners, and that's where I first met Peggy, who I don't know if she can stand because her wonderful Great Dane Alma was pretty much sitting on top of her earlier. But here's Peggy. Alma is the Great Dane. Peggy and Alma come to many of our events because this can be a very emotional thing. And just so you know, they are all trained therapy dogs, and they literally are here for you to pet. If you need a hug, you can hug them, whatever you need. The mission of the crisis response canines is, well, they started out thinking they were going to natural disasters and things like the building collapse in Florida, which they did visit. But more and more, they are attending and providing comfort after mass shootings, which we hear way too much of. They've been to Parkland and El Paso and Pulse. And they provide comfort because this isn't an issue just for the families who've lost loved ones, but the toll that it takes on the EMTs and the other emergency personnel, our law enforcement, and our healthcare providers. I mean, this really is an epidemic. It's a health issue. It's a mental health issue. And there are things that I just know we can do. I honestly, in my heart, I don't think we can ever end gun violence, but there's a lot we can do to prevent it. And we hear about these mass shootings there in our minds. We hear, sadly, almost every weekend, especially since we're in such a large TV market. But gun violence really impacts every community at every level. Shame on us that in this country, firearms are now the #1 cause of death to children under 18. We lose on average 120 people a day to gun violence. But what many people don't realize is 2/3 of the people we lose are to suicide. Many of those are veterans. This is a huge issue, and this is where I think we can make the biggest difference. And you'll hear more about that in a bit. So I'll get off my soapbox. And again, we get to how things line up. It is a healthcare issue. We have heard from surgeons who have served in the military who tell us that what they deal with here is worse than what they dealt with when they were in combat. Again, as we come back to how things line up in our premier partners, it was just a few months ago that we announced our premier partnership with Inspira. And not only are they our partner, and going back to the magic of how when Jackie, Sandra, and I, who you'll hear more about in a bit, first came and looked around and thought, we want to bring it to this campus where more of our school family will see it. This was the building and how appropriate behavioral science and criminal justice. And then our premier partner, Acenda, and now our premier partner, Inspira, which literally you can see from the window right next door. We literally are at the intersection of RCSJ, Acenda, and Inspira. And so with that, I'd like to invite up David Moore, the Associate Vice President of Behavioral Health and Behavioral Health, Academy Awards last night. I was up a little late. We lost that hour of sleep. Let me try that again. Vice President of Behavioral Health Service Lines for the Inspira Health Network.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here, and I so thank everyone involved. That it's just such a glorious event. And as I look out here, I see a lot of faces that I know, and again, it's just wonderful to be here. I can tell you for sure that my family also knows the tears of grief created when we lose a loved one. So early in life, from guns or opiates. I know that the tears go on for a lifetime. But the good news is, with community engagement activities for those working through their grief, that celebrates the lives, not the tragedy, that those tears of grief become tears of joy. I promise you, I know this is true, but I know you've already seen it with our past speakers. Celebrating the Portrait of Victims exhibit is just flat out profoundly helpful, and I deeply appreciate the event. But today, I also want to just celebrate a multitude of new initiatives. Initiatives funded out of the Department of Justice, specifically designed to replace gun violence with a helping hand. Your community and state leaders are involved. Consider the following programmatic responses to violence. And I mean, these are all recent, pretty much program startups. Arrive Together, agencies like Acenda and the Cumberland County Guidance Center that run crisis behavioral health programs are sending screeners to go work with police. They're getting scheduled. They're going to targeted neighborhoods, and they want to improve the kindness in our community. There's the Effective Mental Health and Behavioral Health Emergency Diversion Program, an initiative by the Cumberland County Prosecutor's Office. It has brought together many agencies like Acenda, Inspira, Oaks Integrated, the Cumberland County Guidance Center, and others. And it's provided training for mental health and for de-escalation, and that training occurs with hospital, police, parole, prison, and prosecutors, professionals training together. All involved are participating in regular case reviews to improve our quality and to understand the barriers better. A full-time Inspira mental health professional will be assigned to work every day with the Millville Police later this spring as a pilot, as part of that program. There's the Law Enforcement Assisted Diversion Program, sometimes called LEAD, and it certainly goes with the LEAD model, if you want to Google that. This program is a best practice model that establishes diversion to treatment from incarceration pathways. This initiative will add 5 more Inspira mental health professionals in the community to work alongside or even independent of police. These workers will target their efforts and engagement to those in our community with continual and complex needs, because the system consistently fails about, 3 to 5% of the folks, and it's not good enough. So we're going to do that. There's a community violence intervention program. And Acenda, Melissa, right? Continually pulled together most of the community providers and advocates, and this is throughout South Jersey, with county government and law enforcement providers and advocates. It's, again, bringing the whole group together so that we work better. The initiative will improve awareness while initiating best practice solutions to react and reduce gun violence. That's the mission. And finally, there's a hospital-based violence intervention program that will ensure that all victims and families affected by gun violence will have long-term treatment supports initiated immediately following the assault. So it has to start in the hospital, because we know that the best practice is you have to interrupt. This is a cycle of violence. And on that program, Inspira is working with Acenda and Life Worth Living. And I could go on to talk about that, but my friend John Fuqua is next on the list. And so I'm going to allow him to elaborate on the community response associated with that. It's a real honor and a pleasure to be here. I just, if I try to list everybody, I would miss people. But thank you so much. I'm honored to be here. Have a great day.
Look at that. It doesn't even need an introduction. Here you are.
Everybody do me a favor real quick. Everybody stand up. Everybody stand up, please. This is stand up, Miss Barnett. Let's go. You good? I'm asking y'all to stand up for one reason and one reason only. These portraits say a lot. They speak for the people that can no longer speak for themselves. But I want us to give a moment of silence for those young people that's in those portraits. Quick moment of silence. Let us be seated. First and foremost, it's an honor and a privilege to be here. When Dave asked me to come speak, I was elated. This morning, I wanted to start off with something that I read a few years ago. Very powerful statement, and it read, it's easy to cherry pick your moral outrage when you haven't lost any skin to the game. I lost. I'm standing in front of y'all as a loser. When I walked in this building this morning, I seen a picture of Joseph Elliott. I grew up with Joseph. We used to be break dancers in the 1980s, early 90s. Seen a picture of Henry Jones. Henry Jones was in a lot of programs that I ran over the course of his short life. Saw a picture of Leah Eubanks. I had Leah in one of my programs at Bridgeton High School. But I also come from a standpoint of losing a family member. It's been 15 years since I lost my nephew, Rakeem Lamar Stubbs, on December the 24th, 2008, Christmas Eve. My nephew was participating in an act of violence and he was shot. While rushing to the scene of my nephew getting shot, my mother had a heart attack and died. On December the 30th, 2008, I buried my mother. On December the 31st, 2008, I buried my nephew on his 19th birthday. I got blood on my hands. I lost a lot to this. On the night of December the 24th, 2008, though, when we were standing in the Inspira Hospital, my mother was fighting for her life, and my nephew was on a surgical table in Wilmington, Delaware, at Christiana Hospital, fighting for his life. When my mother passed away, I picked up the phone because I had a lot of bad thoughts in my head. I come from a pretty unsavory family. I got some unsavory friends. We knew who had shot my nephew because it was like 13 or 14 people out there that night that saw the young man pull the trigger. And I could pick up the phone and call some of my unsavory friends or some of my unsavory family members. Or I could pick up the phone and call my pastor. I called Albert Morgan from Union Baptist Temple Church. And my pastor showed up. And that night, the organization that I run right now, Life Worth Living, was born. Because what I realized that night, that my family needed help. I'm end up being the person that everything fell on. I end up being the leader of my family at 31 years old, and there was people in my family in their 60s and 70s, but I was gonna be the ride. And that night I had a decision to make. Rakeem, life don't go on if somebody go kill him in the name of me. That ain't the way it's gonna go. My pastor came in, he prayed for me. I realized that me, my family, we all needed therapy. We reached out and we got therapists. Leading up to the funeral, we needed even more things. And I realized that I needed to lean on my community more. And in those days, I realized that when people lost, especially when you lose somebody to murder, people in here that understand what I'm talking about, you know, Rakeem didn't die of natural causes. He didn't die of an accident. He was murdered. He was gunned down. It's a different level. So I needed all the help that I could get. And that night I realized that I never wanted another family to feel like I felt. And I realized that you would need therapy. I realized that you would need some kind of clergy. I realized that you would need some kind of support because there's gonna be days when you're alone in the house and you're in the shower, you're looking in the mirror, and you're at your hardest times. You're gonna need a network of people to lean on. And that's what we created. Dave alluded to it earlier, it's a lot of programs out there, but there's also a lot of opportunities for families to rebuild. I talked to Precious, who lost her baby father in Selling. We're gonna be doing work in Selling, Precious. You're gonna have a network to lean on thanks to Acenda and thanks to Inspira, putting together resources for families. At Life Worth Living, we do community engagement events across the county. We do block parties, because what I wanted to do in my neighborhood is instead of replacing hate, we replacing hate with love. We replacing division with unity. We coming together, or hashtag we better together, hashtag do the work. The people in this room are doing the work. And guys, I want to tell y'all, I'm gonna be honest with y'all, there ain't a lot of people doing it. This is it, this is a small part of it. Superman not coming. We it, so we gotta trust each other. We it, so we gotta lean on each other. We it, so we have to support each other. And there's no way around it. It starts right here, it starts today. When I looked in the eyes of Henry Jones over there in that portrait Henry had on these dog tags, and he had this hope that one day he was gonna join the military. That was the last conversation I had with that young man. And to see them dog tags in that photo, it brought me back to that moment. I wanna thank y'all for creating the opportunities for these families to see their loved ones memorialized forever. Art has different interpretations for everybody. Whether you see a color or the way the light might hit it, it's gonna do something different every time you look at it. And that's how we should look at life. Life Worth Living is here to say that every life is worth living. Inspira, Acenda, Miss Barnett, the college, the amazing artists. It's time for us to work together. Thanks for having me.
And rolling right along with the things that we can do, everyone in this room can do, I'd like to invite up my friend Cathie McGeehan, who is a volunteer with Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America, who can actually offer some very practical and simple things that you may be able to share with your community.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for coming. It's an honor for me to speak today. I'm not really a public speaker. I like smaller groups of people, but this is rather intimate, so thank you. I want to thank Rowan College of South Jersey for hosting this community partners from the Soul Shot Portrait Project. They have been partners with us now for a while, thanks to Judy, and allowing me to have an opportunity to talk about Moms Demand Action. I honor the victims and the survivors of gun violence who are represented in the show today by my volunteer work. My name is Cathie McGeehan, and I'm a volunteer co-lead with the Moms Demand Action South Jersey group. We represent all of South Jersey, but it's difficult because of distance to try to get people engaged that have to come a distance. And I would only do this for Judy. I'm not a morning person, but I drove almost an hour to get here because I'm from Haddonfield. And I think it's important, and that's why I did it. And I would also not say no to her. I'm a mom. I'm a grandmom. I'm a retired pediatric nurse because of COVID. I'm a nurse educator, and I'm a longtime child advocate. You don't work at Children's Hospital of Philadelphia without becoming an advocate for children. I've worked in acute care, I've worked home health, I've worked in nursing education, and I've seen the visible and the invisible effects of gun violence from many perspectives. I've been involved in Moms Demand Action South Jersey since I went to a meeting when I found out there was a local group in Collingswood. As a pediatric healthcare provider doing community health in North Philadelphia, I saw the impact of gun violence way too often, and I wanted to do more. Judy mentioned that every day in America now it's up to 120 people are killed because of gun violence, and 250 are wounded. On an average year, gun violence in America kills a total of 40,000 people, and twice that many are wounded and have effects afterwards. Something that some other people are not even thinking about is the cost of this. It's $557 billion. Now, if that's not an incentive, I don't know what is. Black and Latinx communities are impacted at a much higher rate. Tragically, as Judy mentioned, I can't believe it, gun violence is the #1 cause of death in children. It surpassed motor vehicle accidents now. And that does include teens because it's up to 18 years old. Gun violence affects people, not just the victim. The trauma doesn't stop when the shooting stops. Gun violence takes many forms: murder, suicide, domestic violence, just to name a few. Gun violence affects victims, families, neighborhoods, and communities. The survivors here today know this too well. 58% of adults in the United States have been or know someone who has experienced gun violence. We connect with survivors from Moms Demand Action, and we offer trauma-informed programs, trainings, provide information, and we also give referrals to direct services. We're not just moms, we're dads, we're uncles, we're veterans, we're gun owners, and we're gun survivors. We have chapters in every state and the District of Columbia. And as part of Every Town for Gun Safety, the largest gun violence prevention organization in the country with nearly 10 million supporters. Moms is not anti-gun. We're more anti-violence. We believe that respecting rights and protecting people come hand in hand. We believe in the ability to change culture. We're nonpartisan, but that doesn't mean we're not political. We do work to elect gun sense candidates, and they promote safer gun laws. We are proud to be part of maintaining New Jersey's status as a model for gun safety. We partner with organizations such as churches, schools, hospitals, violence interrupter programs, to name a few, and we try to amplify their messages and their voices. Soul Shot's project carries out this mission perfectly by memorializing and honoring gun violence survivors and victims. Another important work that we do is to provide education Our priorities in our local group are 2 programs. One is called Be Smart, and the other one is called One Thing You Can Do. 4 million children live in homes where guns are both loaded and unlocked. This isn't acceptable. We need to do something. Moms partnered with Everytown for Gun Safety to provide education and awareness about gun deaths in children and responsible storage of guns through our Be Smart program. This helps parents, caretakers, and responsible adults to take actions to prevent gun deaths, injuries, and to normalize conversations about gun safety. In Camden County, we have long time been partners with our county commissioners, and Commissioner Lou Capelli and his amazing staff helped us develop a public service announcement for television. We have one of our moms in it, and Lou Capelli is also in it. And they were broadcast over the holidays on the local channels. I guess they do it according to the county. It's been very exciting, and Moms Demand Action is proud to have partnered with Everytown and Camden County to produce these. The second program that we have is One Thing You Can Do. And this is when you have a loved one that is showing some signs that they might do harm to themselves. It could feel like there's nothing you can do, but our program, One Thing You Can Do, kind of takes you to a place where you can take action. You can request an extreme risk protection order, or called ERPO, to temporarily remove the gun from your loved one and keep them safe until the crisis is over. Most people don't know about this law, and it isn't present in every state, but we do have it in New Jersey, so we're trying to get the word out there. Suicide accounts for 2/3 of gun deaths every year. Knowing how to obtain an ERPO can save lives. We have volunteers ready to do these presentations, but we need your help in spreading these important educational programs. They can save lives. I have cards back on our table with some literature about both programs and about moms, and we'd love you to join in the fight. We can do it, but we can't do it alone. It takes all of us. And thank you for opening your hearts and your minds today. I hope you enjoy the exhibit.
And as we talk about our partnerships and the things we can do, imagine that when you take your child for a checkup, I certainly remember being asked, does anyone smoke in the house? Is there alcohol in the house? Do you have any pets? Allergy concerns? If we add the question, do you secure your firearm safely in your home? Not even, do you have a firearm, because that tends to make people tense up and they feel they're being judged. Just, do you secure it securely, and do you need a gun lock? We have some information for you here. I think that's where we could really make a huge difference. They've tried that in Chicago, where they've handed out more than 5,000 gun locks, and they can already see a reduction in accidental deaths among children. So as you can see, I've gathered a pretty good crew. You can see Cathie was back there the first time we saw Soul Shot, and we just continue all the partnerships, and you're all part of a piece of the puzzle. And again, we have things that sometimes magically line up. So that was our first exhibition back at our campus in 2019. It eventually went to visit our Arts and Innovation Center in Millville. Now, this is the premiere today. You're the first people to see the second New Jersey exhibition that is here now in this catalog. And once again, Eoin Kinnarney signed up to do a portrait. He created a great piece. And Jacqueline Sandro-Greenwell, who's kind of hiding in the corner because she doesn't like public speaking, heads up our Arts and Innovation Center and is also a very accomplished artist herself. And she also chose to create a piece that you will see in a bit. And she was my partner in feeling we needed to bring it to this campus. And I urge you to visit her gallery. It's a fantastic space, and it's very active in the community. But basically, just our art students go there. It's hard to get our campus to go there. We'd never get everyone here some people here would go see it, but could never engage the way with this exhibition as we could if it were here. And Jackie truly moved heaven and earth and a lot of lumber to make this happen over here in this space. Because it wasn't our original vision, but it was to be in this building, and here we are. And actually, I think it just works out fantastic with the natural light and the beauty of nature behind it. So a huge thank you to Jackie and Randy for making that happen. And again, in the way things magically line up, Rebecca Thornburgh had signed up to do a portrait, and the family that she was connected with just felt they just weren't ready. But she was still ready to do a portrait. And I had been talking to my friend and colleague, Carthornia Kouroupos, who is let me get it right, an assistant professor in our English department, and also a writer herself. And she had decided to sign up for the project. And it was very last minute, but because a family fell out, Carthornia was able to have her brother memorialized through a portrait just in the past few months. I mean, when she told me, I thought, you got to be wrong. It's got to be for the next exhibition. No, they're telling me it's for this one. I'm thinking, how could anybody create something that quickly? And it is actually, you could maybe be able to see it from where you're sitting, but I'll let her tell you more about that. So I'd like to introduce Carthornia Kouroupos.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Can you hear me? Yes. Okay, good. Okay, my name is Carthornia Kouroupos, and I'm honored and humbled to join you today for this beautiful soul-shot portrait project that memorializes the lost ones of mothers, fathers, sisters, brothers, sons, daughters, aunts, uncles, friends, and all who never got the chance to meet these beautiful souls. Gun violence is the ultimate form of bullying because it ends lives of beautiful souls, devastates families who are left behind, and leave a legacy of brokenness that transcends through generations. Yes, gun violence is the ultimate form of bullying, because gun violence ends lives. Most of the times when people are shot by guns, they don't go to the hospital and get patched up and go home. They go to morgue. Then they go to the cemetery, they're buried. And they don't ever achieve the things, their dreams that they wanted to achieve. There's nothing. They never get a chance to hug their parent again, their sister, their brother. They never walk this earth again. Never. Gun violence devastates families of people who are killed. This hurt is deep, is a deep cut that never fully heals. It scabs over after some years pass. But unlike most scabs fall off and the wound is completely healed, this type of wound never fully heals. When the scab is knocked off, this type of wound, it continues to bleed. It never had a scab on it at all. And it doesn't matter how many years have passed, the blood and hurt is always fresh. Gun violence leaves hurt and brokenness for children of the deceased. Victims. The world is hard enough to navigate through for a child who has his mother and father. Imagine how much harder it is for a child who has lost his mother, father to gun violence. Imagine the hurt that they carry. It affects them for the rest of their lives. This is a hurt that can plague these children and never let them truly soar because of their broken wings. This type of disability is invisible to others, but nonetheless is a real disability. My brother Ronald Sanders is among those beautiful souls. He was killed on the streets of Brooklyn, New York in December of 1981. A week before Christmas. He was the 5th child of 7 of us. The night he was killed, he was on his way home from work, and 3 young teenagers approached him to rob him as he left. He went to a fast food restaurant, and as he left, they approached him to rob him. He ran. He ran the blocks of Bedford-Stuyvesant, and as they shot at him, and they shot him in both arms, one arm, then the other, and he ran down into the train station to try to get help, but the token booth clerk could not help him. They ran down, and they shot him in the chest, and he fell to the ground as he bled, dying, and they robbed him, went through his pockets, and took all of his money. He was a gentle and kind person to be around. He was my big brother. He was my big brother. The scab of my hurt has hardened over the 42 years that he's been gone. And I pray that it doesn't get knocked off, because there won't be enough room to catch the floodwaters and blood that will come from this wound. I pray that God heals all of us in this room who are broken from the violence, because the well of hurt isn't deep enough to hold our collective tears and sorrow. To conclude, I'd like to read a poem to share with you that I wrote about the loss of my brother. The operation was swift, performed with precision and skill. It was as quick as the knock on the door. I answered it. No organs were left out of place. The job was done so well. I was told you were no more, gone, not to be found in the tiniest places, or even in foreign lands. My heart turned to lead, and it dragged me to my knees as my red-hot liquid turned into small beads of ice cold clots that forced the rivers from my soul so deep, so deep. It took many years to crest before I could rest. My tattered being, broken, damaged, wrecked. I didn't know how to pick up the pieces of what was left. I wanted to come to the place where your final home was made. You laid there losing warmth until you glowed with an unfamiliar look. I never did, though. I was afraid. Afraid I'd find you. Afraid of what you'd say. I just waited for you to come to me. And you did that very night. I was so happy and surprised. You told me that it wasn't true, that they had not done that to you, that you had gone away, your absence a delay, until you were forgotten by those who would lay you down in a hole 6 feet underground. And I was happy to see you well and proclaimed my love for you. But as I rose with the sun, the truth was revealed. The operation had made a change so deep within my heart that when awake, I dreamt you dead and went asleep alive. I also would like to thank everyone who had a hand in organizing this event. I would like to thank my artist, Rebecca Thornburgh, for the love she put into creating the image that lets the soul of my brother shine bright and beautiful through her wonderful and skillful artistry. Thank you, Rebecca. Thank you. And thank you all who have come here to share their story as we stand strong together in the face of our tragic losses. Thank you. Thank you so much.
And in talking about how things with this project seem to magically line up, you heard how passionately she spoke about bullying. She is also, we will be celebrating her in April, a very happy event, when we have her book signing for a children's book that she recently published. And again, with how things magically line up. her artist is a writer and illustrator of children's books. So I feel that one was just meant to be. When we had the previous exhibition at the Arts and Innovation Center in Millville, Dr. Keating suggested I reach out to Cumberland County Prosecutor Jennifer Webb McRae, and I'm so glad that he did, because she is amazing. She had wanted to be with us here today, but she had a sudden family emergency, so I'm sure you join me in sending positive energy to her and her family. But she did bring some people with her to that, one of them being Karen Barnett, who I'm so happy is here with us today. Karen heads up an organization called MUMS, Mothers, Uplifting Mothers, and she felt that the exhibition had merit and would be of interest to her group, and so I met her on a Saturday so they could take a look, and a number of them are here today as well and have had their loved ones memorialized in this second exhibition. But she would be much better talking about this than I am, so with that, I'd like to invite up Karen Barnett.
Okay. I was asking her if I was the last speaker because I was going to try to put everything into a bow and tie it up, but I'm going to allow the last speaker to do that, but I'm going to start the process. Good morning. It is... Oh, okay. It's going to be one of my moms, so that's a beautiful thing. So it's wonderful holding space and sharing space with all of you. I don't have prepared remarks, but I do bring you regrets from our Cumberland County prosecutor. She texted me early this morning to share with me that her father was ill and being transported to the hospital. We talk about broken children, broken men, and it has been said that it's much easier to create strong, healthy, and I'm going to take the gender out, individuals than it is to repair broken individuals. When I look at this project, I think about the African proverb that says that as long as a person's name is spoken, they yet live. And when we think about art goes back generations and generations and generations. And it is talked about and taught in all education. This project has the ability to rewire brains. It has the ability to rewire hearts. But more importantly, it has the ability to rewire culture. Each stroke of each picture connects to a thought, to an emotion, to a story. These are not victims. These are individuals. They are not data points. They are loved ones. How we honor them is to speak of them present tense. How we honor them is to commit to not just saying that we're going to be the change, but being the change. How we honor them is to make sure that all of the things that we're talking about, whether it be through, I think she left, through Acenda, whether it's through Inspira, whether it's through Soul Shots, whether it's through the college, whether it's through each one of you, how we honor them is to make sure that we are going back out into the communities and building rapport by touching individuals, by making sure that they know about the things that are available and that they are provided both equitable and with integrity. I have been doing advocacy work for over 40 years. So one of the things that I talk about when I'm down at Congress or when I'm at Senate is if everything stays in the stratosphere, if the moisture stays in the stratosphere, the plants will perish. Our plants are perishing because there is no one making sure that the moisture gets to the plants. Each one of us have the ability to moisturize the plants, and that's what we need to do. There's another proverb that says that no one knows the raindrop that makes the dam break. We know that the rain is going in. We can see that the rain is going in, and we can see the water level rising, but no one can identify the one raindrop that makes the dam overflow. All of us are raindrops. Every service you offer is a raindrop. Everything that's coming out of the prosecutor's office is a raindrop. Each time Carla speaks, it's a raindrop. Each time you speak, it's a raindrop. Every time someone looks at one of these portraits, it's a raindrop. And you need to be taking that raindrop back into your community and infusing those raindrops. Because collectively, if we continue to do that, Bedford-Stuyvesant will look different. Because Bedford-Stuyvesant is still a case model that is taught in colleges in reference to longitudinal toxic trauma and poverty. That shouldn't be. If you look back at all of the New Jersey Kid Counts report and or all of the census reports for Cumberland County, there is no reason that demographically the stats are still the same. It's time for us to stop talking about things in the stratosphere, and it's time to make sure that we start nurturing the plants in this community and making sure that those conversations and services are an intricate part of any class that is taking part at Cumberland County College. Because it's a lot easier to infuse that information, that data, those strategies, those modalities into emerging students. So that's part of their toolkit that they take with them when they become a professional. You know, we talk about it's a lot easier to teach new dogs instead of old dogs new tricks. Let's make sure that they are armed with that information as emerging professionals so that when they go out into the community, they're providing those services with equity, but more importantly, with a passion to actually create change. And I will close with this. All of us have the ability to be part of the GPS system that changes the trajectory and the direction of not only everyone that's in this room, but all of the residents of Cumberland County. And as each one of those drops continue to nurture and nourish, where is my, oh, she's standing back there. We have the ability to actually change the landscape of the nation. Because if we didn't learn anything about NIMBY, not in my backyard, if we didn't learn anything about the fact that it's actually YIMBY, yes, in my backyard, if we didn't take anything out of the atrocity that happened in Philadelphia to the Temple University police officer, who the perpetrator lived in a $2 million home. If we did not realize that this has no socioeconomic boundaries, then we are a confused nation. We have to get out of the stratosphere. We have to nurture, but most importantly, we have a duty to make sure that these are the conversations that are taking place in our households and in every household. Because I can tell you, it's not a matter of when gun violence impacts your family. It's not a matter of when domestic violence or substance misuse impacts your family. It's not a matter of if. It's a matter of when. My when was 1996. My when was each of the names that John Fuqua talked about, they too were my win. Because I've been providing services so long in Cumberland County that I know each one of those families very intimately. So ladies and gentlemen, the young lady from Salem, I know your background also. So ladies and gentlemen, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And the question that you will have to answer is, what did you do with your raindrop? I look forward to continuing to work with you, Judy. For those of you, she asked me to talk about moms. Moms is Mothers, Uplifting Mothers. We are a group of women that come together to simply support each other. In excess of 98% of those participants have lost a child to violence. The other 2%, 1% are illness, and the other 1% are substance misuse and overdose. One of the pictures that are here, you will see two people. That mother is a member of Moms. She buried her children years apart, but on the same day. One to gun violence and one to an overdose because the individuals did not know about Hold Harmless 911, and instead of transporting her to a hospital or making a phone call, they drove her around in the back seat of a car and then dumped her out. So I say to you again, it's not a matter of if. And you talked about the knock on the door. It's a matter of when you get the mine was a pager. The pager went off. It's a matter of when you get the or the call. And ultimately, the question, because you heard me today, the question is going to be, what did you do with your raindrop? I know what I'm doing with mine. And Judy, thank you for allowing me to partner with you with Soul Shots. I'm registering individuals left and right, so I hope you're searching out artists. We had a mother of moms and an artist connect at the private opening. And it's about rapport, and it's about being hands-on and making sure, again, the question is not what you do with your tears, but what do you do with your raindrop? And I look forward to talking with you post this activity. Thank you.
And folks, thank you for your patience. I know it's a long program, but I hope that you feel that it's a worthwhile one. And I want you to think about how you can interact with this, because the reason the Soul Shop Portrait Project is so meaningful to me is because I know when people see it, they are moved and they want to take action, and making a donation to support the project is a wonderful action to take, because there are expenses involved in moving the art from venue to venue and things like that. But there's other action that you can take, like learning more about our red flag laws or these various things you've heard about today. So think about how this fits into your puzzle. Do you have a place you'd like it to visit? Cathie McGeehan, with her background in medicine, it has taken almost a year, but I'm very excited to say that the next stop for the project in May will be at Cooper Hospital, right in the heart of Camden, where it will be very meaningful to the staff there that has to deal with gun violence every day, as well as the community that visits it. And it is my goal that the conversation here doesn't end today. The exhibition is here through April. Think about, do you have staff members that you want to bring back? Do you have people in the community that you want to introduce to the project? If you're an instructor here, do you have a class that you want to bring? If you want to have someone come back and speak, you just heard lots of people in the room. Pick who you'd like to hear from. I'm sure we can arrange that. Because there's a whole story to tell here that goes with these portraits, and that's what gives it value. You know, as Karen mentioned, Carla for the past year and a half has been able to share her story and let the world know about Kevin, and that gives his life meaning. You know, and I've gathered all the right crew here in this room. I thought video producers were pretty good at connecting the dots and making deals, but you saw one get made right there by that doorway that pales in anything I've put together. So think about what deal you want to make while you're here today. I'm going to bring up now Jackie Sandro, who was so instrumental in bringing this here and in participating as an artist herself to bring us to a close.
Welcome, everybody, and thank you, Judy. Your passion is out of bounds up there. But I just grateful that you made a connection with me, and I love the project. And anytime that I can have the humanities or the arts speak when words are not enough, we bring our visual tools into the fore. I cannot speak as eloquently as Karen or any of you, so that's why I rely on my skills as an artist. But I'd like to thank the President Keating, and Vice President Bacone, who's not here, for supporting the project. And all the friends and colleagues that helped to get this installed. You guys know who you are. I see Pat Ahern from theater. We used his space to build some stuff. Dean Hanselman, thank you so much for being supportive of the project. Judy, of course, tenacity, passion. I just feel honored to be part of the exhibit and honored to be a part of the project. I hope to be involved forever. And Laura Madeleine for being the champion and founder of the Soul Shot project. She's great. A lot of work. Lastly, I want to thank the families and loved ones. Thank you so much for being involved in the project and allowing us as artists to get a little short glimpse into the lives of your very special people. It truly is an honor and a privilege to honor your loved ones in this way. My family that I represented is out there, but I would like to now introduce you to the sister of Angel Montes, who is my portrait. Jasmine Torres Burgos has worked in healthcare for 12 years. She's a humble island girl with strong Caribbean roots in Puerto Rico, who is a firm believer that laughter is the best medicine. And I know this for when we had a few conversations about Angel, and I'm going to let you talk about your brother. She was so joyful in remembering him and speaking about his strong family ties and his passions and his loves, and she was recounting a lot of experiences, and it was just laughter and joy, and I felt that, Jasmine. And his encouragement to her. She has a deep love of the arts, music, and poetry, which Angel had always encouraged. She is involved in community outreach programs, educating minorities on breast cancer health awareness. And I'm so excited to hear her recite her beautiful poem that is included in the catalog. So I'd like to invite Jasmine up here now. Please welcome Jasmine Torres Burgos.
Is it still morning? Good. It can be whatever you want it to be. Good morning. Good morning. First things first, I just want to say thank you to Jackie. Jackie actually, when we actually had our first conversation, she asked me, what do you want to feel when you see the portrait? And I remember I told her, I said, I want to feel like I'm reconnecting with my brother again. It's going on 13 years. It's been a really long journey. And when I first saw the portrait, when she sent it to me, it took me back to our first conversation, because I remember telling her that me and my brother's connection was always music in the car. He would always randomly call me and say, what are you doing? And I'm like, nothing. Put some shoes on, get ready. I'm like, where are we going? Don't worry about it. And on those trips, of course, music was involved, but he never knew the lyrics. So he would always say, help me out, sis. And I would always belt out the rest of the song. But there was always a little hidden talent that he always pushed in me, which was spoken word and poetry. He always said that words hold weight, they hold power. It's not always about actions. When you walk in a room and you speak, it's okay to have those words hold weight. I'm going to get into it because I don't want to get emotional. I'm going to go ahead and read the piece that I actually wrote for my brother. It's actually a mixture of two things. It was originally written for his funeral, which was my first time publicly speaking and reading anything that I wrote. And then about 5 years later, I picked up a pen for the first time again, and I did a secondary piece that kind of went with the first, and here it is. And just bear with me, please. My brother by breath, my brother by blood. Not even death can separate the bonds that held together our love. Clouded by pain, broken and incomplete, as I lose myself in the written words, I release the pain my very soul cannot keep. Growing up, I became used to you holding me up, and even in distance, walked by my side, and now I'm left empty-handed with nothing but unforgotten memories of you when these sleepless nights take over and I finally manage to close my eyes. My brother by breath, my brother by blood. Not even death can separate the bonds that held together our love. You looked out for me and put your foot down when things went wrong and got more than a little rough, and taught me to fight and still remain a lady. Years of advice you gave me, word for word, becoming more than enough. You showed me to do like Monica and tell dudes don't take it personal, rock steady to SWV, and when Fresh Prince came on, it was about nobody else but you and me. The pain struck me piercing like a blade, lost with no direction, trying to gather the words to say. Dad opened his arms as I laid my head against his chest. His heartbeat, similar to mine, was no longer the same. For there's a missing piece that only for you will always pertain. He watched you grow and become a man and teach you what he could, but on this day, I watched our father break down to tears right where he stood. No pain is greater than the pain Mom must face. We had to hold her down as our lips fixed themselves to tell her that your life had been taken away. Those words hit her like poison, shattering her soul, echoing in her mind, thinking to herself, how can someone take my baby, my only son, the very first person that I brought into this life? It's never easy to lose someone and for it to your heart be known, but as I pray to the Creator, I pray that in his hands he keeps your soul. My heartbeat stops as I think of the one you love the most, the son you left behind and always held close. They may have killed you, but through us you shall always live. And as I take a breath each day, there will only exist one wish, to tell you I love you, big brother, and to coat it with a kiss. My brother by breath, my brother by blood, not even death can separate the bonds that held together our love. Extra, extra, read all about it. Heartbreaking, heart beating irregular as my pen recklessly rips through these empty pages, spilling ink across these endless lines, pulsating within the grasp of my hand, attempting to give these words life. Gasping for air in silence, I can't breathe. In my mind, trying to envision the face of a man who has changed the way and now I speak. That man becoming a man who was instead of a man who is. Gazing into space, drifting backwards in time, I smile slightly. as illusions come together with moments bringing birth to memories. The memory of the hand I held multiple times as a child in order to cross the street. The memory of the laughter we generated to the point of tears without worries, always managing to disturb the peace. My smile erupted like breaking news, rudely awakened by the nightmare reality. The body of a Hispanic man found in the midst of a crime scene. Years later, here I stand. I still can't breathe. As this tear stains as blank sheets of paper, I release the pain that's enough to toy with anyone's clarity. As another tears, I'm going to let it tell the rest. The love for that man trapped within the walls of my heart, even in his absence, irreplaceable. No questions asked, there is no other. As the rest of these tears fall, I'm going to let it express just how much love I have for that victim that has clearly been identified as my big brother. Ink spills differently, reliving the tragic news. An unforgiving thought when you take a life, to be continued. Thank you.
I know we have some other family members here. Is there anyone else who has anything they'd like to share before we close out? I know it's a lot to take in, but I urge you to all take a moment to get to know these souls that are here in our portraits, but also the souls that are here in this room. And if you need a hug from a dog, we've got lots of them in the back. I do want to acknowledge before we go, well, actually, some of the people I was going to acknowledge may have left us because I know it was a long program. So instead of doing that, I'll just leave you all on this note. Hey, I managed to get through so far. It must be because I'm still so sleep deprived. I want to thank you all for coming out today, but please take a moment to talk to someone who's here and figure out how you fit into the piece of this puzzle and what you can do to either elevate these voices or maybe take some action to make a difference. We've got lots of resources in the room. Let's get everybody talking to each other and see what we can do together. Thank you so much for coming today.